Max and Ruby. Ruby and her little brother Max. Damn it. Hold on. Alright. Hopefully y'all can hear me this time. Or hopefully you got a good connection this time. Close my up. Alright, I only got like two of you open. But last live was severely interrupted. Marty, what's going on? We gotta do it again. We gotta try it again. This was a good read and a half to finish off where I left off. Alright. Stoke challenge. What's going on? Alright, yeah, let's get some likes going on, y'all. Let's get some likes. Hit the little three dots, hit the like button, man. Let's get into the algorithm. Let's get algorithmic. Let's get some motion going. Let's get it moving. Let's get it grooving. Absolutely. Yes, sir. Positively. But yeah, last live cut out. I moved from that spot I was in because I'm not gonna try that spot no more. But hopefully we at the gas station now, so uh, hopefully, we can do a good straight, a good decent bookery and get this shit on the road, man. Cause I'm getting better at my book reading skills. Uh, I enjoy reading, not just by myself, but also on YouTube. So I got a Kenneth Walker. That's a running. You're running back, ain't he? Kenneth Walker. Hell yeah, GG's. Man, I can't wait till football season. I was just listening to the radio earlier. Just listening to a bunch of football talk, and yeah, I love football, man. Fall. We got about 90 days. About 90 days till football season starts. I don't know, man. Maybe I'll be in my own crib by then. I'll be in my own crib by the time football season starts, so I can watch football in peace. I can, watch my team, any team really. I love watching football. I don't care who's playing. I'm watching. As long as it ain't no D2 college or like D3 fucking JUCO college teams on TV. But yeah, man, I love watching me some football, bro. For sure. Any Baltimore fans in the building? We got any Baltimore fans? Baltimore Ravens? Any Ohio State fans in the building? Cleveland Brown fans in the building? Cincinnati Bengals fans? We got 26 people in here, y'all. Let's go ahead and get some likes. Let's go ahead and get an algorithm one time for the one time. Get this good book reading session going, and let's learn us something. Let's learn us a thing or two, man. Let's get some understanding, some knowledge, some wisdom, some good habits going in life. Let's get some discipline going, man. Some structure, some routine, some some synchronicities. Some Sammy. He's talking about Nick Carnegie. No, I'm not a Bengals or Browns fan. Baltimore. Baltimore Ravens. Hey, but let's go, y'all. So, all right. Thinking in terms of future, thinking in terms of future storytelling can take much of the sting out of the setbacks you experience. This is because your attention will be focused not on how you are being wronged, but on what you must do to bring the story to a satisfying conclusion. And if events take a strange turn in the aftermath of a setback, you may, rather than getting even more upset, feel grateful. It puts, after all, an interesting wrinkle into your setback story. At this point, with clarification is in order. Using the storytelling frame does not mean that after muddling angrily through a setback, you make up a story about how wonderfully you handled it. The story you tell must be true. So for you to come off as resilient and competent in your story, you must actually be resilient and competent in your handling of the setback. Realize too that if a Roman Stoic like Epictetus employed the storytelling frame, he might not he might not subsequently share the story he had written with other people. His primary goal in employing this frame, after all, would have been to avoid experiencing negative emotions in the aftermath of a setback. Something he already would have accomplished by the time storytelling opportunities arose. Furthermore, furthermore, if he did subsequently share the story, it would likely be for one of two reasons. The first would be to make people aware of a workaround for a setback they had experienced or might experience. The second would be to show a pessimistic person that experiencing a setback didn't trigger negative emotions. Indeed, it can even trigger positive emotions. How about that? Something would not have been done is share his setback stories with others in an attempt to impress them with his resilience and ingenuity. He knew full well that the values by which he had the other Roman Stoics lived were uncommon. Whereas most people valued fame and fortune, a Stoic's primary goal in life was to attain and maintain tranquility, to avoid, that is, experiencing negative emotions while continuing to enjoy positive emotions. He also knew that when people judge others, they do so in accordance with their own values, not in accordance with the values of the people they are judging. He therefore concluded that a sensible Stoic will ignore the praise of non Stoics, so it would be pointless for him to go out of his way to gain that praise by sharing his setback stories. This person even went so far as to suggest that we should take non Stoics' praise as a kind of reverse indicator of our progress as Stoics. Okay, hold on. All right, let's start with the comedic frame. I kind of like skipped over what I had just read on the last live, but like I just had to just continue where I left off because I probably could have read it again, but we're gonna jump over to the comedic frame. The comedic frame. When someone wrongs you, keep in mind Seneca's comment that laughter and a lot of it is the right response to the things which drive us to tears. He also reminded us that this technique was employed by Socrates. After someone boxed his ears, Socrates responded not by getting angry, but by commenting on how unfortunate it is when we set out for a walk that we can't know ahead of time whether to wear a helmet. I came across a wonderful example of the use of humor in the face of a setback while touring Machu Picchu in Peru. My guide said that a few years earlier, he had been leading a group of Australians on a 4-day hike along Inca Trail in the Andes Mountains. When the hike ended, the group returned to August Calientes, a nearby town where they could catch the train to Cusco in order to board their flight back home. But then my guide found out the train wouldn't be running for days. The Urubamba River was in flood stage, meaning that his clients were stuck in Aguas Calientes. When he informed them, they fell silent until one of the Australians offered a brilliant response. Well then, let's have some beer. The rest of the group laughed, and off they went to a nearby bar. By responding to the setback with humor, the Australian not only prevented anger from arising in himself, but set the tone for the group. His joke effectively cut off the sort of complaining that might otherwise have filled the vacuum. Once he played the beer card, it would have been very difficult for someone else to say, I've got a better idea. Let's stand around and moan about how unfair life is. Notice, too, that by going for beer, the Australians transform a setback into a great story to share with friends in the future. A story about the time they got stuck in Aguas Calientes. Another time humor comes in handy is when we have been insulted. Lots of people respond to insults by getting angry, and the insult thereby sets them back. A better response is simply to laugh. By doing so, we not only forestall anger in ourselves, but make the person who insulted us look like a fool. He hit us with his best verbal shot, and we just laughed it off. Laughter can also be an effective response to a profound personal calamity. Roger Ebert realized this. So did Michael Cubis, a lively and fit former military officer who started an import business. At age 40, a massive cerebral hemorrhage left him locked in, not to the extent that Jean Dominique Bobby was, but severely enough to limit his ability to engage in everyday activities. Cubis responded to his predicament not only by lapsing into depression, but using his well developed sense of humor to make jokes about his ludicrous circumstances. Conclusion: if you can bring yourself to laugh at the times that make most people cry, you have a powerful weapon to use against life's adversities. As we have seen, Socrates made a joke in response to a physical attack. Some might criticize this response on moral grounds, rather than simply laughing at his attacker. Shouldn't Socrates have turned him into the police? Doing this, after all, would decrease the chance that the attacker would attack Socrates or some other innocent person in the future. In response to this criticism, let me point out that using the comedic frame does not preclude us from turning into an attacker. By framing the attack, we can prevent it from harming us emotionally, and is important to do. Since the emotional harm we experience in the aftermath of an attack can far outweigh the physical harm, after that, we have the option of taking steps to prevent similar attacks on ourselves and others in the future. Depending on the circumstances, this might mean turning into the attacker to the authorities. I should add, the historical record does not indicate whether this is what Socrates did. Yeah, sometimes you gotta laugh it off because is my audio sounding good? Is the visuals looking alright? Am I clear? Do I got a clear picture? I got clear sound. Somebody let me know in the comments right now. We on the roll. I like this book. It's pretty good. I can relate. But now we move on to the game frame. For sure. Appreciate that. Dog, my dog. Consider the following scenario. While you are running, someone comes up from behind and tackles you to the ground. How would you react? Given only this much information, you might instinctively place the event in a blame frame. You might have been wronged and will be quite angry at the group responsible for the attack. But before we go any further, let me add one more element to the above scenario. At the time you were tackled from behind, you were playing rugby, and the tackle was legal under rugby rules. Under such circumstances, it would be absurd for you to point an accusing finger and place the event in a blame frame. You should instead place it in what might be called a game frame. Getting tackled is, after all, part of the game of rugby. And if you didn't want to be tackled, you should have stayed off the field of play. Although getting tackled might count as a setback in the context of a rugby game, it is a setback you must shrug off if you are to play rugby effectively. Furthermore, rather than treating the tackler like a criminal, you should treat him as long you should treat him as long as he didn't break any rules as a worthy competitor on the field of play. By employing the game frame, we can take much of the sting out of events that would otherwise be traumatic. It is therefore surprising that we don't employ this frame more often. And this is something I had to learn like on my own. Like this is something that I really like. Yeah, like really just like in real life, in real time, can like just catch myself in a moment and be like, okay, I put myself in this situation. Can I really be mad? I put myself on Front Street. Can I really be mad that people was looking at me? Like, I definitely appreciate reading it because there's something that I really had to learn to like really just keep my peace and keep myself sane. And get out of that victim mindset. Like life is just happening to me. No, I'm creating everything. I gotta own up to all my experiences. I gotta own up, you know, my reality, because my current reality is a collection of Is a result of all the experience, is of all the choices that I made, of all the decisions that I made up until this point. So yeah, if a situation like we just read did happen, like, can I be mad? Like, I'm sitting at a gas station right now. Can I be mad if somebody walk up to me and ask me for some change? Like, I'm the one that sat at the gas station. I know people, and I mean, I don't. It's known that in Nashville, people will sit at gas stations and come up to your car and ask people for money, or even offer to wipe my windshield. Can I be mad? I should have just went to a gas station in the suburbs if if I because I got control. I got the right to, you know what I mean. I got the ability. I got the power to shape my reality, and I gotta accept what come with it, especially when I got goals and when I'm sticking to them goals and things don't go how I want it. Like, nah, this is what you chose. This is what you wanted, so you gotta stand on it. And I had to learn that the hard way, and I'm still learning it today. Like, especially recently, man. I'm going through something right now, and I mean, either way, um, like I said, I created the situation, so either way it play out, I'm gonna win because I created it, and I can't be mad at the other person for how they reacted because I could have, you know, what I mean, I could have, or it ain't about could have or should have or would have, but it's just about learning. Like, I know now not to do that, but I can't be mad at that person for responding because next time I'll handle the situation in a way that's better for me. That's gonna have a better outcome for me. I'm gonna respond in a way, or yeah, I will make better decisions in the future. Period. What am I talking about here? Y'all can't just be in here writing quotes, man. Y'all gotta source. Put the source. You gotta source these. Where's these coming from? Just in here writing quotes, man. You gotta come up with your proof. Who said that? Where does that come from? Was it a philosopher? Because this is a philosopher. This is a philosopher type book, right? Clearly, a philosopher's guide to becoming tougher, calmer, and more resilient. All right, let's keep going. Where the hell leave off at? Okay, the author Jane Leafloff tells a story that nicely illustrates the power of game framing. As a young woman, she was invited by two Italian men to go diamond hunting in Venezuela. It sounded like a wonderful adventure, so she accepted the invitation. They hired several South American Indians as laborers and obtained a heavy and cumbersome dugout canoe in which to travel. At one point in the journey, they had to carry the canoe over jagged rocks in the tropical sun. With Lidloff doing her share of the carrying, all of them got cut, bruised, and seared by the sun heated rocks. Excuse me. In the course of the portage, though, she noticed that whereas the Italians were treating each cut and bump as another setback and cursing in response, the Indians were treating the experience as a game. The canoe's unpredictable movements made them laugh. Getting pinned against hot rocks by the canoe was for them not grounds for complaint, but an excuse for more laughter. Her account of the episode: all were doing the same work, all were experiencing strain and pain. There was no difference in our situations, except that we had been conditioned by our culture to believe that such a combination of circumstances constituted an unquestionable low on the scale of well-being, and were quite unaware that we had any option in the matter. The Indians, on the other hand, equally unconscious of making a choice, were in a particularly merry state of mind, reveling in the camaraderie, and of course, they had no long build-up of dread to mar the preceding days. Each forward move was for them a little victory. She decided to join the Indians in framing the endeavor as a game and found it made the rest of the trip much easier. By framing a setback as a component of a game, we can dramatically reduce its emotional impact, and the game in question needn't be a formal game like rugby. It can be an impromptu game like the Indians canoe game. The Stoic test frame. The last frame that we shall consider has game like elements. When confronted by a setback, the Stoics say, we should pretend that imaginary Stoic gods are testing us with our well being in mind. To pass this test and thereby win the game, we must stay calm while finding a workaround for the setback. In its fanciful frame, but it, but a useful one nonetheless. The ancient Stoics knew that although we have limited control over what setbacks we experience, we have considerable discretion in how we frame them, and hence considerable control over how they affect us. People normally think of setbacks as annoying events, or even worse, as undeserved tribulations. As a result, they respond by getting frustrated or angry. By choosing another frame, we can keep our cool in the face of a setback and thereby increase our chances of finding the optimal workaround. And not only that, but by employing the Stoic test frame, we can interpret setbacks as interesting challenges, thereby der- deriving a degree of satisfaction from dealing with them. This sounds amazing, I know, but it's true. So let us take a closer look at the Stoic test strategy. Taking Stoic tests, part 3. Besides the obvious challenge of finding a workaround for a setback, we face a second challenge, preventing ourselves from experiencing negative emotions in the aftermath of that setback. Many people overlook this second challenge for the simple reason that they don't think it is in their power to control their post setback emotions. Yes, they get upset, angry, or depressed, but that's just what people do, right? This attitude is unfortunate for a number of reasons. Getting angry in response to a setback will shatter whatever tranquility we were formerly experiencing. It will also cloud our thinking, making it difficult for a conscious mind to develop possible workarounds. As a result, we will probably end up choosing one that is less than optimal. Consider two people stuck in adjacent cars in a traffic jam. One responds by getting angry. He curses the other drivers. He calls his wife and tells her how angry he is, quite possibly causing her a degree of distress as well. When we finally when he finally gets to work, he is gruff with his coworkers, who might respond by returning the bad attitude. Another driver, by contrast, quickly realizes that there is nothing he can do to make traffic move faster. He therefore turns his attention away from the jam and toward the opportunity the delay affords him. As his car sits immobile, he checks his email. He notices a new episode of his favorite podcast, so he starts listening to it. When he arrives at his destination, he is late, but he is in a good mood. If someone asks how the traffic was, he might answer, truthfully and without drama, that it was pretty slow. For this driver, the traffic jam will be nothing more than a small wrinkle in the fabric of his day. Suppose you are facing the challenge of a burst water pipe in your house or apartment. As a result of the break, you might not have water for your morning shower or coffee. The broken pipe itself, however, is relatively easy to fix. It might take a plumber only 20 minutes to do so, and it might take an accomplished do-it-yourselfer a few hours, including the trip to the hardware store. But when a water pipe bursts, the ruptured pipe is only one of the problems that confront you. Besides, the problem of not having water where you do want it, and having the much bigger problem of having a lot of water where you don't want it. This unwanted water might flood several rooms, and if the broken pipe is on an upper story, it might cause a lower story ceiling to collapse. The flooding problem is much more serious than that of the break of the in the pipe itself. Consequently, when a water pipe bursts, your first response should not be to try to mend the pipe or to go out and buy drinking water so that you can take make your morning coffee. It should be to turn off the water supply to prevent your dwelling from getting flooded. In parallel manner, when you experience a setback, you are faced with not one challenge, but two. The second one, preventing a flood of negative emotions, is usually more critical than the first. This emotional challenge may be secondary in terms of time and in terms of time and causation. This emotional challenge may be secondary in terms of. Hold on, y'all. Excuse me. All this damn talking be clearing out my sinuses. All right. Usually, the harm done is by our emotions. If we allow them to be triggered, it is the biggest cost associated with a setback. A sensible person will realize this on an, and on experiencing a setback, her 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 first response will be to take the steps necessary to prevent the onset of negative emotions. Notice that I didn't say she will find a way to conceal those emotions. She will prevent them from arising. So there won't be any negative emotions to conceal. Many readers will admit that it is stupid to get angry about being stuck in a traffic jam. This anger simply upsets us without having any impact on our situation. Aren't there cases, though, in which the expression of anger is not just permissible, but advisable? Somewhat surprisingly, Seneca agrees that such cases exist. Suppose you are dealing with someone who has a sluggish mind and who therefore doesn't respond to requests, even those that are perfectly reasonable. Unless they are accompanied by a display of anger, it would be understandable. Seneca says, for you to respond to this person's forwardness with anger, but he has hold on. For you to respond to this person's forwardness with anger, but he has a better idea. Respond with feigned anger. What? Doing this will likely achieve the results you are hoping for without making you pay the emotional price of actually getting angry. Another case in which it might be argued that we should let ourselves experience anger is one in which a grave injustice has been done. In such cases, the anger we experience will be righteous indignation, a very special kind of anger. Indeed, failure to experience righteous indignation might, under some circumstances, be taken as an evidence of a flaw in our moral character. Hold on, let me read that again. Indeed, failure to experience righteous indignation might, under some circumstances, be taken as evidence of a flaw in our moral character. This is an interesting theory, but when we look back in history, we find that it is quite possible to passionately devote ourselves to fighting injustice without our hearts being filled with anger. Consider, for example, Mahatma Gandhi, who fought the unjust treatment of Indians by their British rulers, as well as the unjust treatment of untouchables by higher caste Indians, in a determinedly peaceable manner. Consider also Gandhi admirer Martin Luther King, who fought the injustice of racism. Although King sometimes gave passionate speeches, he does not appear to have been an angry man. Yes, he was capable of experiencing flashes of anger, as any person is, but he apparently did his best to quell them. In his autobiography, King told the story of his role in the 1955 bus boycott in Montgomery, Alabama. The boycott in question was triggered by the arrest of Rosa Parks for refusing to give up her seat to a white man. The whites only section of the bus was full, and the bus rules allowed the driver to expand this section so that subsequently boarding whites would have a seat, even if it deprived blacks of theirs. Furthermore, the whites only section would be expanded, not a seat at a time, but a row at a time, in part to spare whites the indignity of having to sit in the same row as a black. Parks and three other blacks were occupying the row of seats just behind the whites only section. So they were all told to move further back into the colored section. The other three blacks acceded to the demand, but Parks refused. So the driver had arrested her. had her arrested. The black community was outraged and decided to boycott Montgomery's buses. King was chosen as their primary negotiator. In this role, he had to deal with both white racists and outraged blacks. He soon found himself getting angry at people on both sides, but quickly regretted doing so. I knew that this was no way to solve a problem. You must not harbor anger, I admonished myself. You must be willing to suffer the anger of the opponent and yet not return anger. You must not become bitter, no matter how emotional your opponents are. You must be calm. I needed that one. That's definitely. Oh, Detroit lady, what's going on? What is this person saying? This person needs to be blocked. Okay. Yeah. All right. I'm just gonna see. You see. We see. Yeah, this is getting good. Many of those involved in today's social change movements equate anger with passion. If you truly care about an injustice, you will be angry about it. They may go on to explain that anger is an effective tool in fights for justice, as it motivates us, and publicly expressed righteous anger gets the attention of people we are trying to persuade. This may be true, but as the Stoics well knew, anger is a double edged sword. Besides motivating us, it can exhaust us, so that we run out of energy before winning our battle. Furthermore, the anger we express often triggers anger in those on the other side of an issue. They harden their stance, making compromise less likely. We live in a world in which change, when it comes, is likely to be incremental, meaning that righteous anger can retard progress on the issue in question. And finally, we know that anger can cloud our judgment, causing us to do foolish things and blinding us to the possible solutions. Many social reformers feel so strongly about an issue that they are willing to make personal sacrifices to accomplish their goals. By allowing themselves to get angry, they are clearly sacrificing anger, as I've said, is incompatible with joy. What is less clear is that making these sacrifices will help them achieve their goals. Indeed, it might be counterproductive. Social reformers are therefore wise to follow in the footsteps of Gandhi and King and stay calm while working passionately to bring about change. So much for anger in response to setbacks. What about grief? If someone close to you dies, grief is the natural response. Furthermore, according to the Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, grief is the psycho- psychologically appropriate response to a personal loss. If we suppress our grief, she says, we increase our chances of experiencing serious mental distress in the future. Ross's theory of grief has been challenged. The psychologist Robert J. Kassenbaum, for one, has argued that the theory is not sufficiently supported by Empirical data. Furthermore, even if Ross had determined the existence of five stages of grief, it would have leave it would leave open the question of whether making an effort to go through them is the best way to deal with grief. George Bonanno, a professor of clinical psychology at Columbia University, argues that we are much more resilient than Ross would have us believe, and are therefore much less in need of grief counseling than many psychologists recommend, and make a living providing. Indeed, his research indicates that most people left to themselves will rebound from an interpersonal loss, and that grief counseling can make things worse by inadvertently undermining their resilience. Consider the death of a loved one. Seneca acknowledged that some grief is appropriate in its aftermath. Nature requires from us some sorrow, but adds that more than this is the result of vanity. He has in mind those individuals whose primary motivation for public displays of grief is to show the world how sensitive and caring they are. The Stoics were also aware that in some cases, the anguish a person experiences after a death is motivated more by feelings of guilt than by grief. Suppose a husband takes his wife for granted while she is alive and consequently does not invest as much into their relationship as he should. After she is gone, he can no longer make things right, and this thought sickens him. The people we love won't be with us forever. If nothing else, our own death will deprive us of their company. The Stoics therefore recommend that we periodically make a point of reminding ourselves just how wonderful it is that the people we love are currently part of our life. Something could have happened that deprived us of their company, but it didn't. Aren't we lucky? Engage in this kind of morality meditation, say says Stoics, and we will fully appreciate the existence of those we love while they are still alive, meaning that our love can make a difference in their lives. We will therefore feel less need when they are no longer with us to grieve their passing. In particular, we won't have regrets about what we could and should have done while they were alive. Since we likely would have done it, it should be a clear it should be clear that rather than being goalish, these meditations are a deeply life affirming exercise. If we presented a Stoic with a list of Ross's 5 stages of grief, his response would be to skip the first 4: denial, anger, bargaining, and depression, and go directly to stage 5: acceptance. The Stoic would add that since we don't have it in our power to resurrect the dead, we are wasting our time mourning their passing excessively. To the extent possible, we should simply accept their death and get on with life. All right, I'm gonna wrap it up there. My nose just got stuffy all of a sudden. I don't know where that came from. But yeah, wow. Um, yeah, I always wondered what that would be like for me. I haven't really dealt with grief. Maybe as much as most people have, but I always wondered what it would be like when that time came. Like what that would be like for me, and how would I respond to it. And as far as like losing like somebody that's super close to me, yeah. So interesting advice for grief for sure. Um, so we're gonna pick up where we left off next time we get on here. I don't know when the next time gonna be, but we're gonna finish. We're gonna get to the next chapter. Next chapter is using the Stoic test strategy. I thought that was just the same chapter. Didn't I just read that? Oh, okay. Okay, so now we're gonna start using. We get strategic now, I guess. Page 105. Uh, page 105, and all together we dumped this book at page 178. So I got about 100 and hold on. I got about 75. I got 73 pages left. So I'm done with this book. I'm gonna take my time with it because I'm actually reading Chicken Soup for the Soul book now, which is very good, very good. I'm so happy that I got that book. Finished my last book, The Greatest Mindset: How to Do Something and Live Your Best Life Today, something like that. But yeah, self help books for sure. Information, motivational, whatever. Philosophy. Yeah, I'm just learning. These books really help. If anybody out there um, read books, shout out to you if you do regularly read books. If you don't, uh, definitely very highly recommended that you do start somewhere. Start reading. Find you something that you like to read and uh, start reading. Or you want to learn something, start learning, start researching, and start studying. And you will definitely notice a change in your life now, changing your thinking, your actions, your decision making, and uh, yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and hop off of here. Appreciate for everybody that stayed in and watched. We got 7 people in here right now. We got 23 likes. Appreciate it. Yeah, my voice getting all raspy and everything, man. But I will say this. I'm gonna go ahead and say something very vulnerable. Like I have ever since over the past year, like especially lately, I've noticed that because I've always been like a soft spoken person. Like I've always been like talked super quiet or talked fast or you know what I'm saying. Like I've always had trouble. Kind of like had like kind of like a speech impediment a little bit, or like stuttering too. But lately, I've noticed that I've been like more vocal and more loud. Like my voice is louder. Like I be trying to sound regular, and then my voice will be like louder than I be trying to make it sound. And I be like, damn. And yeah, just in my everyday life, you know, just I think actually reading these books out loud to y'all help with that too. But it was something that I you know was insecure about because yeah, I was people would tell me all the time, especially when I was younger, that I'm like I would always have to repeat myself to people. I would always like people could never understand what I said because I would either say it quiet or I would say it fast or I would stutter and I just can't get my point across. But now I'm getting better at vocalizing it, saying and expressing my thoughts and expressing what I'm thinking. And yeah, so just to put that out there. But I don't know who needed to hear that. Maybe somebody did. But I definitely needed to say it. I don't care if somebody wanted to hear it, they hear it or not. Give a damn. Hey, appreciate y'all for checking in, man. 40 minutes on live. Um, I'm gonna probably leave this public so anybody can just come back and watch it. Yeah, like I said, if you want to get into reading books, find you something you like reading, start reading it. You know, just find a time in the day where it's really quiet and peaceful and willing to receive some teaching information or just a good story, a good laugh. Books be funny as fuck. I'd be cracking up reading these books sometimes. Like I'd be like really entertained reading books. Like I really love it, especially like just now. But like I would have kept reading. I don't know. My nose just got super stuffy. Uh, yeah, it kind of like made me just not want to keep reading it. So I'm gonna go ahead and hop up off of here though, y'all. Appreciate y'all for checking in with me. And, I see the hearts. I see the hearts spamming. Yeah, we out here. Audi 5000.